The woman everyone called Mrs. Nobody stood silently in the courthouse lobby with trembling hands as the final document was placed in front of her. After 23 years of sacrificing her dreams, building a family business from an empty garage, raising children who barely remembered her sleepless nights, and loving a husband who promised forever, she watched him smile proudly beside the younger woman he had secretly prepared to replace her. Then came the sentence no one expected to hear. The judge announced that newly uncovered financial records had completely changed the case, and within seconds the powerful man who believed he had destroyed his forgotten wife realized that everything he thought he owned had never truly belonged to him. The people who once ignored Mrs. Nobody suddenly looked at her with disbelief, while the man who laughed at her moments earlier felt his entire world collapse before a crowded courtroom. If you believe kindness is never weakness, that hope can survive betrayal, and that second chances begin with courage instead of revenge, please take a moment to like this video, leave a thoughtful comment, share this story with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel because every act of support helps our community continue bringing meaningful stories to life. For most of her adult life, Laurel Whitmore had become invisible. She had never planned for that to happen. As a young woman, she was brilliant, creative, and ambitious. She earned scholarships, dreamed of designing sustainable homes, and imagined building neighborhoods where families could create happy memories. During college she met Grant Whitmore, a charismatic entrepreneur whose confidence seemed endless. Grant admired Laurel's intelligence, praised her work ethic, and convinced her they could build an incredible future together. They married with almost nothing except determination and a belief that love could overcome every obstacle. The first years were difficult. Money disappeared as quickly as it arrived. Laurel worked multiple jobs while Grant chased business opportunities that often failed before they truly began. She believed in him when almost no one else did. She sold inherited jewelry to keep the lights on. She borrowed books instead of buying them so they could afford groceries. She stayed awake until sunrise balancing spreadsheets, preparing presentations, and quietly correcting Grant's mistakes before investors noticed them. Whenever someone complimented Grant for another successful meeting, he accepted the praise while Laurel smiled from the background, believing one day they would celebrate together. That day never came. As the business slowly grew into one of the city's fastest-growing construction firms, Grant changed. Success attracted attention, admiration, and powerful friendships. The humble husband who once thanked Laurel for every sacrifice gradually became a man who believed he had achieved everything alone. At company events he introduced executives, consultants, and investors with enthusiasm, but Laurel was often described simply as his wife, as though her years of unpaid work had no value. Employees assumed she spent her days enjoying luxury while Grant built the empire. None of them knew she had written many of the company's earliest proposals, negotiated impossible supplier contracts, and designed systems that saved the company from bankruptcy more than once. Eventually Laurel stopped correcting anyone. She accepted becoming invisible because she believed protecting her family mattered more than protecting her pride. Their children, Preston and Elise, grew up surrounded by comfort instead of struggle. They loved their mother but slowly absorbed their father's version of history. Grant often spoke about determination, leadership, and sacrifice without ever mentioning Laurel's contributions. Family photographs displayed expensive vacations and award ceremonies, yet none captured the countless afternoons Laurel spent comforting frightened employees during layoffs, helping injured workers find medical care, or quietly paying struggling staff members from her personal savings. Her kindness never appeared in magazines because she never asked for recognition. As years passed, Grant's respect disappeared almost completely. He criticized Laurel's appearance, dismissed her opinions during family dinners, and insisted she no longer understood modern business. She blamed herself for growing older while he surrounded himself with younger executives eager to flatter him. Friends who once admired their marriage slowly stopped visiting after noticing the uncomfortable silence that filled their beautiful home. The greatest betrayal arrived during an ordinary afternoon charity luncheon. Laurel attended because Grant insisted appearances mattered. While volunteers organized donations for local families, Grant publicly introduced Vivian Cross, a glamorous executive recently hired by the company. Their smiles lasted a little too long. Their familiarity felt impossible to ignore. Within weeks, rumors spread throughout the office. Employees whispered that Grant and Vivian traveled together constantly, shared private meetings, and behaved more like partners than colleagues. Laurel never confronted anyone. She believed truth revealed itself without shouting. Months later, Grant asked for a divorce. He explained everything with astonishing calmness. He claimed they had simply grown apart. He insisted Laurel deserved peace while he pursued a different future. He promised she would receive enough money to live comfortably but made it clear the company belonged entirely to him. He expected gratitude instead of heartbreak. Laurel accepted the papers without tears. Everyone misunderstood her silence. Some believed she had surrendered. Others assumed she lacked the intelligence to fight. Even Grant privately joked that his wife would disappear quietly because she had become Mrs. Nobody. What almost everyone forgot was that Laurel had always been the person who organized every document, preserved every contract, and protected every legal record since the company began. During the painful weeks that followed, Laurel moved into a modest apartment filled with sunlight instead of luxury. For the first time in decades, she made decisions without asking permission. She cooked simple meals, walked through neighborhood parks during warm afternoons, volunteered at a community center, and slowly remembered the woman she had once been before becoming invisible. The people she met there never cared about wealth or status. They appreciated her kindness, her patience, and her willingness to help others solve everyday problems. Their gratitude healed wounds money never could. One afternoon, an elderly retired accountant named Graham volunteered beside her at the center. While organizing donated school supplies, he casually mentioned recognizing the name of Grant's company because he had reviewed historical corporate filings years earlier. Laurel smiled politely until Graham asked an unexpected question. He wondered why she had signed every original incorporation document while recent filings listed Grant as the sole founder. Her heart skipped. She had never examined those records after trusting Grant's legal team. Instead of reacting emotionally, Laurel quietly requested certified copies from public archives. Days later, the documents arrived. She spent an entire afternoon reading every page carefully. Hidden beneath complicated amendments and revised agreements, she discovered signatures added years after she supposedly approved ownership transfers. The signatures looked similar to hers but contained subtle differences only she could recognize. She refused to assume the worst. Instead, she hired an independent forensic document specialist. The results changed everything. Several critical documents transferring ownership had almost certainly been forged. Laurel felt devastated, not triumphant. The man she once loved had not simply abandoned her. He had erased her. Rather than seeking revenge through public humiliation, Laurel chose the law. She gathered records, emails, handwritten notes, archived design drafts, payroll documents, tax filings, and decades of evidence proving her role in creating the business. Former employees she had quietly helped years earlier voluntarily came forward. A warehouse manager remembered Laurel negotiating impossible contracts that saved hundreds of jobs. An early investor produced handwritten meeting notes identifying Laurel as the strategic planner behind the company's survival. A retired secretary revealed she had questioned suspicious paperwork years before but had been instructed never to mention it again. Truth slowly assembled itself like sunlight breaking through heavy clouds. Grant remained confident. His attorneys dismissed Laurel as an emotional former spouse seeking attention. Business magazines praised his upcoming marriage to Vivian. Invitations for an extravagant daytime wedding circulated among influential guests. The celebration was planned at the city's most luxurious hotel ballroom. Everything appeared perfect. Until the court hearing. Inside the crowded courtroom, Laurel arrived wearing a simple blue suit she had purchased years earlier. She carried no anger on her face. She carried evidence. As experts presented document analyses, financial timelines, witness testimony, and original incorporation records, Grant's confident smile disappeared. Every attempt to explain inconsistencies created even larger contradictions. The forged signatures, hidden ownership transfers, and manipulated corporate filings formed a pattern impossible to dismiss. The judge carefully reviewed every piece of evidence before announcing that temporary control of disputed corporate assets would immediately transfer pending final resolution. News spread faster than anyone imagined. The hotel's accounting department received legal instructions freezing payments connected to contested company accounts. The lavish wedding preparations stopped instantly. Decorators paused. Luxury vendors waited. Guests whispered. The celebration Grant believed would announce his perfect new beginning dissolved before the ceremony even began. For the first time in decades, people stopped asking who Grant Whitmore was. They asked, "Who is Laurel Whitmore?" Journalists wanted interviews. Television programs requested exclusive appearances. Publishers offered book deals. Laurel declined them all. She had not fought to become famous. She had fought to reclaim the truth. Months later, the final ruling recognized Laurel as a founding partner whose ownership had been wrongfully removed. She received not only financial compensation but public acknowledgement of her role in building the company. More importantly, extensive corporate reforms were ordered to protect future partners from similar abuses. Grant lost more than wealth. He lost credibility. Investors withdrew. Executives resigned. Even those who once admired him struggled to defend years of deception. Vivian quietly disappeared from public attention, realizing the glamorous future she imagined had been built upon another woman's suffering. Laurel could have celebrated their downfall. Instead, she chose something far more difficult. She rebuilt. She transformed her restored ownership into a foundation supporting women restarting careers after years devoted to caregiving. She funded scholarships for students whose education had been interrupted by family responsibilities. She established legal assistance programs for spouses facing financial manipulation. Every afternoon the foundation welcomed people who believed their lives had ended because someone else decided they no longer mattered. Laurel greeted each visitor with genuine warmth because she understood invisibility better than anyone. Her children eventually confronted painful truths. Preston discovered archived company records proving his mother had shaped nearly every important decision during the business's early years. Elise found old notebooks filled with architectural sketches carrying only Laurel's handwriting. The realization shattered the comfortable story they had believed throughout childhood. Ashamed, they visited their mother one bright afternoon. They expected anger. Instead they found forgiveness. Laurel explained that accountability mattered, but bitterness could quietly imprison the innocent alongside the guilty. She encouraged them to become better than the mistakes they inherited. Their healing took time, yet honest conversations slowly replaced years of misunderstanding. Even Grant eventually requested a meeting. Age, public disgrace, and loneliness had humbled the once unstoppable businessman. He admitted he had confused admiration with worth, power with love, and success with identity. He apologized without expecting reconciliation. Laurel listened. She accepted the apology without pretending the past had never happened. Forgiveness did not erase consequences. It simply prevented yesterday from stealing tomorrow. As seasons passed, the nickname Mrs. Nobody disappeared completely. Not because Laurel demanded recognition, but because people finally understood that the strongest individuals are often the ones standing quietly behind everyone else's success, asking for nothing except honesty and respect. She never measured victory by the fortune she recovered or the headlines written about her. Her greatest triumph came each sunny afternoon when another frightened visitor entered her foundation believing life was over and left believing a new beginning was still possible. Every smile restored, every family reunited, every dream revived reminded Laurel that true revenge is never destroying another person's future. It is refusing to let someone destroy your own. Before this story comes to its close, take a moment to leave a meaningful comment below. Have you ever seen someone underestimated simply because they stayed quiet, and what lesson do you think people should learn from Laurel's journey? If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Remember that the world often overlooks gentle people until courage reveals the extraordinary strength they have carried all along. No one is truly a nobody, because every act of kindness, every hidden sacrifice, and every quiet moment of integrity leaves a legacy that time can never erase.